It was unveiled about the Floridians Clean Water Declaration, which is essentially a clean water bill of rights for the public. But to have people, and primarily elected officials, to sign that declaration, and if you haven't already done so, we do have them right under these tents, where it basically indicates your interest in ensuring that we will always benefit from clean and safe water. So your support is of paramount importance. But as this rally has built its momentum, we are very thankful that right here in Southwest Florida, we've had two co-chairs that have helped promote and advocate and market the event today. And those two co-chairs are John Scott and John Heim. And at this point in time, I'd like to introduce both those gentlemen to you. John? How's everybody doing out there? That's a hot mic. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and have you all give yourselves a round of applause for coming out for a great cause. This wouldn't be possible without people like yourselves out there. It's a very important issue to our local economy, tourism, our livelihoods, our children's futures. As you can see, we have plenty of booths when it comes to informational stuff, so please visit every single booth. Everybody here is here for the same reason. We demand clean water. We're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to be silent anymore. We're not going to be complacent anymore. One thing we've learned this year over the summer is we have to stay engaged without the outrage. Right now is the off month, what they call that, the dry time. But guess what? Here we are, still involved. Once more, I'd like to go ahead and have you guys give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Thank you. And I'm going to introduce John Scott at this time. Good morning. What do we want?
Clean water!
When do we want it?
Now!
Yeah, we're going to have a march at the end of this. We're going to march across the McGregor down to the Midpoint Bridge.
I just correct.
Because I think all of us are pretty concerned about the water quality over here and statewide, correct?
Yeah!
Correct?
Yeah!
All right. Now, my name is John Scott, as they've already gotten that out of the way. I'm the co-founder of an activism group, a water advocacy group called the Clean Water Initiative. We're one of the hosts of this event, and it's been a laborious and arduous process putting this all together, but it's been really rewarding, and it's especially rewarding now that I'm standing up here looking out at all these great faces that are concerned about the same thing that I'm concerned about, which is when you look at that picture right there, and on there it says, is this an oil spill? What does that look like? That looks like the BP oil spill. But you know what that is? That's toxic runoff from Lake Okeechobee invading the Gulf of Mexico during rainy season this last year. That's a pretty dramatic photo right there. I think a lot of people see that and they would be like, wow. So we need to keep that in mind. But I think this is a cause that it transcends political party lines. It transcends all walks of life. I think everyone should be concerned about the water quality. And if you're not, I don't know what to tell you, because the water down here, the wonderful, beautiful, pristine waters, everybody comes from all around. When you vacation in the Keys, they don't have great beaches in the Keys. They come up here for the beaches because we have the wonderful white sand beaches. But right now, if you go look at those beaches, you've got all kinds of red drift algae sitting all over them, and we've had a premature red tide that's been on and off. So this isn't going to go away as long as we allow people to continue to back pump pollutants into Lake Okeechobee, and we don't hold anybody accountable, and nobody wants to really come to the table and take drastic measures to solve these drastic problems. But anyway, I appreciate everybody coming out, and I especially appreciate the Lee County Alliance of the Arts and the GreenMarket for allowing us to have this event here, and for being such gracious hosts and providing us with all these great resources that we need in order to make an event like this possible. Thank you very much. Enjoy yourself. Thank you to both Johns. You know, it really is amazing when you think about the irony that here we have to hold a special event to promote clean water. You look at California, and I know you've been watching the news, and a terrible historic drought. Read the recent or hear about the recent incident up in West Virginia where some 300,000 residents are left without water because of coal cleaning chemicals that have contaminated their water supply in Elk River. And even in this state,
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I drove up just now from Broward County, and I live over in Weston, so it's kind of easy coming right up I-75. I'm just glad to be here, and thank you, Ray, for mentioning that particular issue, because people kind of wondered why I voted against that bill, and that's the exact reason, because it infringes on the local communities to enact ordinances and do things that they think are right for their communities. You know, you don't have to have lived in Florida for as long as I have, which is, well, over 60 years, or raise your family here, as I have, 4 children and 3 grandchildren, to recognize that Florida is really a very special place. Every year, you can cheer for that. Every year, tourists by the millions travel here to experience things that they can't see or find anywhere else. And every year, for decades, hundreds of thousands of them decided to stay here, right here, and make their permanent home in Florida. Many of you, I'm sure, fit that category. Many, if most, of those tourists come to be close to the water, to see our springs, our lakes, our rivers, our beaches, and of course, our Everglades. This makes protecting the quality and the quantity of water, of our water, critical. And it is a critical mission of state government, or at least it should be. Florida's unique environmental landscape, its pristine and beautiful natural resources provide the basis for agriculture, for tourism, for recreation, and of course for our economy. Florida was once a bellwether state with progressive growth management laws. Unfortunately, that progress has been reversed by legislatures and by governors who have slashed revenues for our water management districts, eliminated the agency that reviewed huge development plans, and stripped away local environmental controls, as you've heard. As a member of the Florida legislature for 8 years in the Senate and 4 years in the House, I supported legislation and budget issues protecting Florida's natural resources. And I fought for against these efforts to roll back successful environmental laws and growth management. In 2011, I voted no, only one of 7 senators, on a bad growth management bill, which reversed the good growth management laws that had been in place since Reuben Askew was the governor of Florida, well over 40 years. In 2010, I served on the very progressive Senate Environmental Preservation and Conservation Committee and worked hard across the aisle, and those are important words, across the aisle with my Senate colleagues like Lee Constantine, Paula Dockery, and Dennis Jones, to pass a comprehensive water resources bill that addressed comprehensive water resources. Replacement of old leaky septic tanks, development policies to protect the springs, only to have it reversed in 2011 by the governor and the legislature. I believe we must preserve and restore Florida's precious resources. Florida is water. The quality and quantity of water produced by our springs, lakes, Everglades, and the aquifer are essential to sustaining our lives, our natural resources, our agriculture, tourism, and economy. Pollution from development, fertilizer, septic tanks, and a variety of other sources threaten our water resources and our ecosystem. Algae blooms, as you heard mentioned, have smothered healthy vegetation and harmed marine life. A lack of enforcement of current laws is a problem. Permitting practices and regulation has exacerbated that problem. I support enactment of laws and funding that promote the sustainability of water resources, the enforcement of current laws, and active oversight and accountability of permitting. Florida must develop a comprehensive plan and coordinated water policy one that includes, of course, the critical issue of sea level rise and its impact on our beaches and coastal communities. Those of us who voted to protect Florida's water didn't win as often as we should. That's how we got to where we are today, and we need a plan to move forward. That's why we are all here today. With your help and your passion, you as water advocates all across the state will find solutions to the water quality and quantity problems. Today we are part of a statewide event. Concerned citizens are gathering at events like this one to ask that individuals, organizations, businesses, and elected officials sign the Floridians Clean Water Declaration.
Woo!
Yep. This declaration is a result. Remember what I said, coming across the aisle? Well, this is a result of groups coming together to create a new water ethic in the state of Florida, to find solutions to our water problems, to send a clear message to everyone, from the governor to the legislature, to water managers, to elected officials at all levels of government, that the people of Florida demand clean water. We will need to make serious and sometimes difficult choices, which is kind of the other side of the coin, to conserve water ourselves, to stop the overpumping, to use less water. But it is our responsibility to be better stewards of our environment. And it is a responsibility that I believe we owe our children, our grandchildren, and all future generations. We can do this together.
I'm going to do it with you.
Thank you, Senator, and we really appreciate you taking the time, traveling all over the state, being at this particular rally this morning. And we appreciate all that you have done in representing the public interest during your career as a state representative and senator. The next individual I'd like to introduce you to is a really special person from the standpoint that with such polarization in politics today, this individual happens to be one of the very few that transcends party politics. She's a strong fiscal conservative, but she also well understands that the business community can only thrive as we start to create more jobs and employment opportunities for our families, that the environment is not mutually exclusive from economic growth and prosperity. In fact, she well understands that sustainable environment translates to long-term economic prosperity. And this is one particular representative who has demonstrated time and time again of the importance of providing access to the public. It seems that so many of our politicians today are inaccessible, and the challenges to try to get their ear is very, very difficult. This particular representative truly represents the public interest, has already signed the Floridians Clean Water Declaration, has demonstrated that courage and commitment to protecting our water resources now and into the future. She's an incredibly gifted public representative because of her understanding of meeting the public interest. And I'd like you to give her a warm welcome of applause. This is our very own Representative Heather Fitzenhagen.
All right. Open that back up.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning.
I am so fired up to be here today. This is a great crowd, and I think it's so wonderful because one of the beautiful things about this cause about clean water, this isn't a political issue. This is a Florida issue. And I can tell you that there are lots of Floridians and lots of people in the House of Representatives where I am that care very deeply about clean water. And although Ray has already stolen my thunder by saying, yes, I signed the Clean Water Declaration because it is so important. And I was honored to be asked to do so. I think it's at its very simplest. It's so easy to get behind clean water. Water is the essence of life. Without water, we have no life. So we have to make sure that we safeguard and conserve and protect our water resources. And one of the things that I think is also very important is that management is a key word that one of our other speakers has already brought up. We have to have a long-range strategic management plan for our water. Water, yes. And I want to help get us there. I want to make sure, though, that you know our water problems did not occur overnight. Unfortunately, we have them. They're not going to be resolved overnight. And I'm going to ask for your patience and your support in helping me to work with other like-minded people to resolve that. So if you will give me your patience and support, you will have my promise to you that I will continue to try to work to clean up our water. One of the things that I've learned, my background is as an attorney and a mediator, is that when you're dealing with these types of very deep-rooted issues, you have to bring all the stakeholders to the table. And whenever you try to reach a compromised position, to try to move things in a better direction, everyone's going to have to leave that table with have left something a little bit behind. We can't get everything we want, but we can move our water policy in the right direction. Yes. So again, my goal is to bring together all Floridians, and all Floridians want clean water. It's just the cost in terms of time and effort that we have to address. Our agricultural industry, which is critical to Florida's economy, needs water. Our tourism industry desperately wants to have the pristine, beautiful water that draws people here from all over the United States and the world. Our communities, our development want to be able to continue to golf, to be able to build communities that are sustainable, that will bring more Floridians here to call it home. I do not believe that these things are mutually exclusive goals. I think with the right plan in place and the right mindset, we can accomplish that. So again, I am very proud to represent you. I will be a standard bearer on this issue for you if you will work with me. Again, it is a Florida issue. It is not a political issue. I am here in this district right where we're standing right now. This is District 78, and I would welcome any input you have at any time. My door is always open, and I'm honored to serve you. I work hard for you every day, and if there's anything that you would like to share with me, no topic is off limits. Come on down to my office, call me, and let me know. And thank you all for taking the time to be here today, because this is a tremendously important issue, and I thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Representative Fitzhagen. I'll tell you, she's a breath of fresh air because she's all inclusive, and she meant what she said. You work with Representative Fitzhagen, we're going to get some good things done on behalf of the public. Another elected official that is about to come up to the podium here, recently elected as the new mayor of Cape Coral, Marnie Sawicki. And you know what, I got to tell you, she's another person who understands the importance of being inclusive, to bring everybody together to work on solving problems that affect all of us. And I am so thankful, as a former county commissioner, that Cape Coral has this new mayor in Marnie Sawicki. She understands that Cape Coral is directly affected by the water quality of the Caloosahatchee River, and she well understands the challenges ahead of us and is willing to roll up her sleeves to work with all of us. And that's, I think, a tremendous testimony to a new mayor who's learning the ropes but has that commitment to protect our resources. And that's Mayor Marnie Sawicki from Cape Coral.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming out today. I can't think of another issue more important to the quality and sustainability of life in Southwest Florida than the quality of our water. Most of us moved here so we can enjoy the beauty of our rivers, beaches, and canals. And I'm here today to show support for a regional effort so that together we can work together to find a solution. Water quality is not just an issue for the city of Cape Coral or for Fort Myers, but more a regional challenge that we must work together to solve. Today, with the help of Mr. Judah, all of the elected officials here today, I'm getting there. We need to commit to solving one of the biggest and most threatening challenges facing us today. I pledge my efforts to work with all of you to do whatever it takes and whatever we can to assure that our water systems stay healthy, in fact improve, so that we can all continue to enjoy our life in this part of paradise. Thank you.
Yeah!
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next individual really needs no introduction, but I'm going to just attempt to introduce a legend. Clyde Butcher is really, for those of you know about, and many I'm sure you do, is the Ansel Adams of Florida. His photographs really, I think, depict the heart and soul of old Florida, of Florida, how it can be and should be. And he has been very generous as one who is constantly in demand for speaking engagements, traveling all over the world for that matter. But to be here today to demonstrate once again his commitment to not only the Everglades, to our water resources, but to the entire state of Florida as an incredible ambassador and spokesperson for all that is good in terms of being proper stewards of our environment. With that, world-renowned nature photographer, Clyde Butcher.
Thanks for inviting me here. I have a little, maybe, different sight on what's happening. We started trying to save the Everglades basically in the 80s, and it took the federal government to sue the state of Florida to get anything started. And that basically concluded in about 1998, 99, and not much has happened since. Little bits happened, but not what it should have been. So that's what I'm telling you here on your situation on the Caloosahatchee River. The public has to step up. If you want to wait for the politicians, you can stick around for another 30, 40 years and it might happen. But you as citizens have got to get this done and pay for it. Because there's so, like she said, there's so many things happened in the past. Who's to blame? Because Florida was developed as an agricultural state. And all of a sudden, we started to be tourism. And it wasn't designed that way. We haven't been functioning that way. So we have to start thinking about fixing this problem. Now, Caloosahatchee, the Lake Okeechobee is full of shit. Now, the one thing that actually I think Jeb Bush did pretty good was he started really restoring the Kissimmee Basin area. So that was cleaning the water that the cattle people were creating problems with. So you got to clean the headwaters. Now the problem is, Lake Okeechobee, I don't know how you're going to clean it. It got probably 4 to 6 feet of mud in the bottom. My only solution that I can see for saving this area here is to do a Kissimmee restoration project in the cattle country. Take the river and make it back to a winding river, create marshlands to clean the water, because they're not going to clean Okeechobee. I can guarantee you. That thing is 30 miles in diameter, and I don't know where you'd put all that mud, even if you could do something. So I think you've got to create a cleaning area, and you can't wait for the state and the federal. People say, well, they'll fix it. Well, who is they? Aren't we they?
Yeah.
You know?
We are they.
I mean, it just seems a natural influence that everybody wants to have somebody else fix your problem for you. What is this? Lee counties, Henry counties, and actually it's in Sarasota, a whole area south of here, Marco, Naples. The current goes south, so it's a problem of the southwest Florida. And you've got to raise bonds, and get whatever you have to do to change it. And if a politician says, I'm going to run and I'm going to save taxes, don't vote for him. Because it takes money to solve this. It doesn't solve by, oh, I'll solve it and just say I'll solve it. You've got to physically do it. It takes money. And that's one of the problems that people don't want. It's one of the cheapest places in the country to live and the best place in the country to live, and we want to keep it nice. to go out there and hopefully vote for a politician that wants to raise taxes. And that's maybe not a good thing, but it's a necessary thing to save these problems, because it does take money.
Yes, it does.
And, well, this is on a byproduct. Vote for Amendment 1. That's another good thing that's happening. Okay, thank you.
You know, Clyde Butcher was an international treasure living right here in Southwest Florida. We're very fortunate. Thank you for the kind words and the meaningful statements that you made, Clyde. The next person I want to introduce you to, and you've been very patient, but we really have just, I think, a wonderful list of speakers to share their position, their feelings with you today. This is a young lady that, she's like the Energizer Bunny. She was directly involved in the effort in Orlando with over 100 some environmental organizations, including her own, the Conservancy of Southwest Florida. She's the Natural Resource Policy Director. I have a good fortune of working with her with the Florida Coastal and Ocean Coalition. Has done a tremendous amount of work over the years on your behalf, in diligently and relentlessly trying to work with our legislators at the state level and at the national level to implement effective and beneficial environmental policies, both with land and water resources. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Jennifer Heckert from the Conservancy of Southwest Florida.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here today, and thank each of you for coming out. My story really begins with my own experience as a mother with my children and taking them down to a river in North Carolina where they grew up, the Eno River, and splashing and playing in that river. Many times those happy memories are what sustains me day after day and sitting in very tedious, boring water policy meetings, thinking about what we need to do to get our rivers back so that they are safe and clean again for our children and for future generations. In 2006, our organization, along with several others, nominated the Coosawhatchee River, and it then was selected as one of the most endangered rivers in the United States. Now, 8 years later, that river is at much risk today as it was then. We need to do more to fix this problem, and we is us, as was so eloquently said. We, the people, need to reach out to our elected leaders and get them to do more on this issue. What are the problems with the Coosawhatchee? The biggest problem is pollution, nutrient pollution, nitrogen and phosphorus that comes from animal waste, human sewage, and fertilizer. This pollution is lowering the dissolved oxygen in our waters to levels that are too low to support aquatic life. It also fuels the harmful algae blooms that we're seeing in the river and downstream around Sanibel and Captiva, creating toxins in some cases that are poisonous to aquatic life and to human health. We've seen record manatee deaths this past year. Those manatees are dying partly in cause to red tide, which is a harmful algae bloom. That toxin that is emitted by red tide is a neurotoxin that shuts down nervous systems so that the manatees can't surface and breathe, and they suffocate and literally drown. So these are the types of indicators of declining water quality that we need to pay attention to as the public. Now, some of this pollution is coming from our local area, and Lee County has really stepped up and enacted fertilizer restrictions and done what it can to take ownership of the pollution that we're generating locally. But most of the pollution is coming from upstream, from inland counties, from Lake Okeechobee, from north of Lake Okeechobee. So we need a holistic solution. We need to look beyond our borders, if you will, and that's why we need to contact our state legislators, even our federal legislators, and the state and federal agencies have to be involved in order to address this problem. Another problem is that we're either feast or famine. We're getting too much water or too little. We get walls of water that blow out the system, and we get shut off completely so that our river stagnates and doesn't flow in the right direction. So these problems have to be addressed if we're going to see the restoration of our river and estuary.
Okay.
We're seeing the dying off of seagrasses, of oysters, the base of the food chain. We're also seeing a problem with lack of political will to address the underlying motivators of these problems, the inequitable distribution of water. Not getting enough water during the dry season to keep the river flowing. So what are the solutions? And this is really what we want to do to empower you to get involved in this issue and to help us. We need to redirect the water south of Lake Okeechobee to where it historically flowed and where it belongs. How do we do that? Everglades restoration. This is why Everglades restoration is important, because it's about restoring that flow path south so that the polluted, harmful Lehigh discharges don't continue to come down our river where they don't belong. What would that require? Well, there's current Everglades projects that need to be funded and that need to be pursued, and the Central Everglades Planning Project is one such project that's right now we're working on trying to get Congress to approve it and our state to fund it, so we're working on that. But we also need things that our political leaders haven't yet addressed, which is buying additional U.S. sugar lands in the Everglades agricultural area, which are blocking our ability to put the amount of water we need to go south where it belongs. So we need to see more leadership from our state and federal leaders on that issue. We also need to control pollution at its source. We need measurable, enforceable pollution limits and water quality standards. Unfortunately, we're seeing the state go in the wrong direction with this. Instead of setting such limits, we're seeing them actually pursue lowering the goals for waters to unswimmable or unfishable. And instead of cleaning up our waters, lowering these standards and goals so that they're compliant again without ever doing anything to address the water quality. That means they never get cleanup plans. There's no future actions taken to improve these waters. They're permanently accepted as being unswimmable, unsafe. And I think the public ought to know that and push back. We need you all to say that is unacceptable. We need all of our waters, whether it be a canal or a river, to be swimmable and fishable. And that's because our fish and wildlife don't know the difference between a canal or a river. The fish that you catch out in an estuary has spent part of its life cycle, most likely, inland in a canal. So the toxins cannot build up in these artificial waters to the point that they make our natural waterways unsafe. We have a problem with a lie, basically, a lie that is spreading right now, which is that the environment is at odds with our economy. This is a lie that the public needs to dispel. Our environment is the basis of a healthy, sustainable economy. This used to be understood in a bipartisan way where we had strong funding for protection of water resources and for Everglades restoration, but unfortunately this lie has created a misconception that is causing us to lose political support for investing in our future, for investing in water, which is the very basis of all life, including our own. So we need more public officials to be as brave as the ones we've seen today and stand up and not only talk the talk about protecting clean water, supporting clean water and protecting water resources, but walking the walk, signing the Clean Water Declaration, committing to doing what it takes to clean up our waters. And that is what we expect, and we ask you as members of the public to really contact your state and federal legislators to tell them, I want you to sign this Clean Water Declaration today. You say you're in support of clean water, you then should sign this declaration. So we need you to help us to push this campaign forward. And I would conclude with saying another thing that you can do as a member of the public is you can join us at our rally in Tally. We're calling it. It's going to be Tuesday, February 18th. We're going to take this up to our state legislature and we're going to say, this is what you need to be doing to actually walk the walk and clean up our waters. And we hope that you'll join us. We're going to have more information on our website, all other websites, the Save the Clusacchee River Facebook page. So please, join us, help you in restoring our beautiful river and our estuary, the Clusacchee. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. The next person I'd like to introduce you to, I think, is really appropriate timing-wise. We all recognize, particularly with the dramatic climatic conditions that have been experienced throughout the world, and more representative with California with the drought, And here in Florida, in the East Coast, with the dramatic severe storms, the hurricanes that are becoming increasingly more violent to our lives and property, we really have to wean ourselves from fossil fuel. We have other alternatives. Sun above us. The use of good feedstock for biofuels such as algae. We have a company called Alginol that actually is able to produce the equivalent of 9,200 gallons per acre with using algae as a feedstock, compared to corn, which is only at 400 gallons per acre. So the technology is there, but we need to have the people throughout this country demand less reliance on fossil fuels and looking at renewable energy and alternative fuels. And we have a woman here today who's about to come before you, Karen Dwyer with Stone Crab Alliance, that will speak on the need to stop oil drilling in the state of Florida.
Happy birthday!
It's an honor to join so many people working to save our waters. The Stone Crab Alliance supports sending clean water from Lake Okeechobee to the Everglades. But we also call for keeping that water clean as it flows through the Everglades by stopping unconventional or dirty drilling. We don't want agricultural or industrial drilling toxins polluting our water. Water is Florida's most valuable natural resource, not oil. Oil drilling is not just an environmental issue. It is a human rights issue. Extreme drilling violates the most basic of all human rights, our access to clean water and clean air. The drill site we're trying to stop is only 1,000 feet from family homes. It's located in the Big Cypress Swamp watershed, a critical recharge area in the Everglades. Drilling will destroy millions of gallons of water. Each well is permitted to use 5 million gallons per month. Unlike agricultural water, the drilling water can never be reused. It is permanently polluted and must be injected into the boulder zone. Given the worldwide water scarcity and annual water restrictions in South Florida, it is criminal to permit the oil industry to destroy so much fresh water. Imagine thousands tourist industry. The Everglades is also a national treasure on par with the Grand Canyon. Extreme extraction is not safe. Not here, not anywhere. Ask Pennsylvania, ask Texas, ask West Virginia. So join us. Now is the time to preserve our land and our water that keeps us alive. Now is the time to create a sustainable future for the river kids. And we're asking everyone to help stop dirty drilling by 1, speaking out, 2, signing our online petitions, and 3, most important of all, attending the federal EPA public hearing March 11th in Naples. We need you to come and give us critical mass. How many show up will determine what the EPA will do. We must insist that the Environmental Protection Agency protect the Everglades, protect Florida, and protect the planet by rejecting the wastewater injection permit so we can have clean water, not dirty drilling. March 11th, D-Day, save Florida from fracking.
I'd like to introduce to you a person I'm just getting to know and extremely impressed with. In fact, I'm hoping that many here will reciprocate in kind and on March 8th attend her water conference forum up in Venice. And she is she oversees the Friends of Warm Mineral Springs. You're going to find her wonderful demeanor and her position on the way in which we need to be better stewards of our environment, I think very refreshing. Julia Jones.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Juliet Jones, and I'm here from Sarasota County, and I am representing a team of people who are far more knowledgeable than myself, called the Friends of Warm Mineral Springs. And I'm here to represent the interests of all Florida springs, but Warm Mineral Springs in particular. We're located in Sarasota County. It's an ancient, archaeologically important, balneologically, that means using earth waters to heal ourselves. It has a tremendous healing effect, or it has in the past, and we've had visitors from all over the world to take the healing waters. But this springs is suffering a great deal because not only has there been debris placed in the spring and the flow rate is down, but there's a political fight. Developers are trying to take over and subsume the interests of the environment. That's what we believe. So on March 8th, we have a lineup of folks who are experts in science and engineering who have helped to restore, protect, and preserve what's left of the springs here in Florida, to try to bring them back. And we have them we have a 400-person venue. And I guarantee you this will not only, we have a Native American opening the ceremony with a Native American rite. This is going to be a fabulous presentation. You know, my background, I'm a hospice chaplain. I was for about 20 years. So I'm really cognizant of the fact that we're made of water. And I think our culture has lost sight of who and what we really are as human beings. We can't afford to pollute the water. We're polluting ourselves. We're like fish who don't realize we're in the water. And unfortunately what happens, and I've seen this a lot in my work, people deny the reality that's in front of them. And as a result, our culture has suffered. And this has happened very quickly. So I moved to Warm Mineral Springs 10 years ago, and I think every single one of you out there has the power inside of them to make a great difference. You have to find a place to set yourself, and then you start to go with your passion and do what you think is right. We don't realize the power we have in this. So I really commend our political leaders. I'd like to invite up here, if he's around, one of my teammates, Ralph. Ralph, are you here someplace? Here he is. Ralph is our attorney, and we got together and we filed a federal lawsuit under the Clean Water Act. And believe me, he's a hydrologist and a biologist that got mad. He became an attorney. So it's not me that's doing this, it's the team behind me, and I'd like you to just say a couple things.
I want to encourage you all, especially the politicians that are here, it's time to invest in nature. There's been studies that show that nature, the water we swim in and recreate in St. Johns County alone is responsible for $1.86 billion a year in economic return. I'm wearing a shirt from my favorite bait and tackle store. I'm a customer of theirs. I go there all the time. It's on Sanibel Island. It's called the Bait Box. How many of your grandchildren, how many of your children go to the bait store, buy some shrimp, and go fish? How many of your relatives come down and go to Sanibel Island and stay there to go bird watching, to walk trails, to enjoy clean water? How many of you remember when you could walk on the beach in Sanibel, wade out into the water, chest deep in the Gulf of Mexico, and see your toes? I remember it, and I want it back. It's about time we change things around here, and the changes have to start in Tallahassee, they have to start in Washington, they have to start in the courtrooms, they have to start in city council meetings. We've got to do something. You can't just keep doing this to us. It's ruining our environment. It's ruining my Caloosahatchee River. It's ruining the Gulf of Mexico. They're ruining it statewide. Things have got to change. We've got to take action. You can't be stuck like deer caught in the headlights. We've got to do something. We've got to do it today. The time to start is today. We can all do it. If one person dreams it, it's just a dream. If we all dream it and we all imagine it, it can become reality. John Lennon said that. Yoko Ono has an exhibit out here at the Rauschenberg Gallery. Bob Rauschenberg lived on Captiva Island above the clean water. There are so many connections between the groundwater, the river water, the rain that falls down upon us, the oil we use to drive our cars. All the decisions we make every day affect our future. We've got to start making the right decisions and asking our elected officials to make those decisions with us. It's all about priorities. Priorities to put the water back, to put it right, to make it clean.
We're coming to fix it.
We're Floridians. And we want clean water, damn it. We want it now.
We couldn't have done what we did without Ralph. Boy, he's our leader. So before I step down, I would like to offer each and every one of you one of these little pamphlets that will explain our program, and we'll be here to talk with you. And believe me, this is going to be a super event. A lot of great people coming both from this county and Sarasota County. Yeah, and you'll find a place to do something if you come to this event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. A number of years ago, while working as a county commissioner, I had the privilege to work with a colleague who at the time was very strongly supportive, as of course I was, in promoting and implementing Conservation 2020. Conservation 2020 has been a phenomenal program, and in its 25 years has acquired some 43,000 acres to protect our water resources in the interior part of the county, which is a tremendous accomplishment. But the gentleman who worked alongside me is here today. He happens to be running for District 4 County Commissioner. I'd just like to shout out to him and let him wave his hand. Commissioner Andy Coy. Andy Coy. We want a number of other candidates that are also running for office, and they are on the speaker list here today. And the next one is Farid Kavari. He is a 2014 gubernatorial candidate.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Farid Kavari, and I have two things that no other candidate has: my accent and my funny name. I am an economist with an economic plan for Florida that includes restoring Everglades, protecting our lakes, rivers, and estuaries, and ensuring an abundant supply of clean water for our future. We need clean water, clean air, and clean land to survive. Clean water is first, and we are here to talk about that today. We need to stop fracking in Florida, or our clean water and clean land can be destroyed forever. That can be done by legislature or the Department of Environmental Protection, with a governor who cares about the environment. The cost is nothing. Now, the main thing on our mind today is restoring the Everglades, protecting our estuaries, and guaranteeing clean water for the future. I'm running for governor as an independent because only an independent governor with a plan can work fairly with legislature of both parties to get things done. But I'm a registered Democrat. The solution to restoring the Everglades and protecting our estuaries and other water is well known. We have needed that solution for years. It could have been finished by now. We are losing not only our water, but we are losing billions of dollars per year by not doing this project. We all know why nothing has happened. You know it. and I know it. Big money, special interests. Politicians, those suck up to them and take their money, and lack of leadership, that's all that's stopping us. It's time for some common sense. If we don't stand up to big special interests and elect people who aren't beholden to them, we will still be talking about this when the last dead manatees and dolphins are floating around the estuaries and the Everglades is swamped full of fracking chemicals. At the very least, we need a governor who did not accept millions from special interests to get elected, and who works for all the people, not for the party interest. So here is my plan. We can't wait for inauguration day. As governor-elect, the day after the election, I will call a meeting of representatives from all of the groups who have worked so hard on the solution we need. We'll work out the differences between the various proposals and agree on a final plan. We will meet with representatives from all of the areas that will be affected. We'll even listen to what the big money interests have to say. What's so difficult? We can do this. We'll also bring in the legislators who have worked on this issue. And together we will draft a 5-page bill that anyone can understand. All of these meetings and plans will be broadcast by internet. When the proposed bill is ready, we will post it on and ask for Floridians to share their comments.
There you go.
We will present the bill
Thank you.
and everyone's comments on the first day of the new legislative session. What's so hard about that? We can do
Here, I
this.
got it.
Now, what about money? I'm an economist, and I tell you that this project does not cost, it pays. If we sold the water we dumped in the ocean last year for a penny of gallon, it would have been $5 billion. If that water had been clean, at 15 cents a gallon, it would have covered the entire budget of the state of Florida. What are we waiting for? We could cancel every tax every tax the state collects and never run a deficit. By the time the frackers get done in the other states, that water will be worth more than oil. The project and the economic activity it generates will create thousands and thousands of jobs besides. It will take a few $1 billion to do it, spread out over a few years, but we'll get it back many times over, every year. We don't need to wait around for Congress or anyone else. We can handle the money right here.
That's what they're counting on.
Whatever it costs, it will be less than big money special interest spent on lobbyists and political contribution in Florida during the time of the project.
That's right.
Of course, all of us have our share of the solution, reducing lawn fertilizers and generally keeping our runoff water as clean as we can. However, a large part of the cost of this project depends on how much it will cost to clean the water as it flows to the Everglades. We know we can clean up the water using large areas of land and various processes. One way to hold down the cost is not to contaminate the water so much in the first place. Big Sugar says there is a way to have sustainable sugar production and clean water too. That's great, but why should we pay for it?
Right. Why should we pay for it?
Let them pay their share or stop being part of the problem. I stand up to Big Sugar and anyone else who is part of the problem, and all my meetings with them will be shown on internet. No backroom deals. I'm not the candidate who got $1 million from Big Sugar for his campaign. My commercial won't run on Fox or NBC. My plan is shared in detail, not in sound bites, by internet and social media like Facebook. Informed voter can make a difference, especially this year. There is much more to my economic plan than we have time to talk about today. I urge you to learn about it on our website and on Facebook.
You need a tripod so you don't have to hold it.
Everyone you know.
You need to be able to put it down so you don't.
Is
it in the car?
And estuaries
Well,
and clean water if you elect
we didn't know. We now know. We now know.
And
We now
tell you
know.
this, if the legislation won't act, then I will personally lead a petition drive for a referendum with the people will act for them. We can't wait any longer, and we don't have to wait any longer. What we need is leadership, common sense, and the will of the people. We can, and we trust, and we must restore Everglades, protect our lakes, rivers, and estuaries, and assure abundant clean water in Florida. Together we can do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
More?
No, I want you to hold this one. I'm terrible at it. I'm not good at it.
We have another candidate here for District 4, Lee County Commission, and she has demonstrated her understanding of the importance of Everglades restoration and alleviating the massive discharge from Lake Okeechobee that's adversely impacting our estuaries by supporting Plan 6. Plan 6 is the fix. For those of you who don't know about it, it's creating a flowway in the Everglades agriculture area so that we can route water where it once historically flowed from the lake to the Everglades and stop the massive discharge impacting our estuaries. That's Debbie Jordan, Lee County Commission, candidate District 4.
Go, Debbie!
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And I'm so happy to be here. We've heard a lot of great speakers today. I'm going to go more on the personal base. As a mother, a grandmother, a resident, past president of the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, I know how vital it is to be here in Lee County and have pure water, good water quality. The economics is depending upon that. The tourists are not going to come here if we have the red tide. They see that one year, the next year, guess what? They're going to the Bahamas. We need to make sure that we keep everything clean here. We need to work together with state, Washington, do whatever we need to do. Not just talk about it, but do something about it. Also, when the red tide comes in, I know how bad that is. I have a granddaughter and a son who gets vitally ill when that comes out. And even though we're not that close to the beaches, we still have the issues and we're in the hospital. They used to think that the hospital was their second home. We need to make sure that that goes away and stays away. All in all, we need to work together to preserve our drinking water supplies, not only for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. And we need to get people that are going to not just say they're going to do the work, but that are going to do it. And we need to hold them accountable for doing it.
That's right.
Working on this Plan 6, we need to work together, bring it together. It is not a partisan issue. It is about our lives. And we need to get things done and make it happen now. My name is Debbie Jordan. I will be on the ballot in November. Please remember me and vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie! Woo!
Thank you, Debbie. We really desperately need a fresh face in District 79, and that seat is probably going to be opened up this coming election season, and we have a candidate here that will have an opportunity to share a few words with you. Larry Aguilar, State House candidate, District 79.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hard to hold, isn't it?
He's good at that stuff.
Are we fired up yet?
Yeah!
Awesome, awesome. Hopefully, I think I'm getting down to the end of the list, and I would like to think that that's attributed to Ray saving the best for last. You know, when the organizers of today's event asked for my support for the Floridians Clean Water Declaration, it only took me a second to resoundingly say yes. Southwest Florida is our home, and we invite visitors from all over the world to come and share our natural wonders, what we commonly know as paradise. We have a huge responsibility to preserve our oasis and to protect its natural resources for the next generation, our children and grandchildren. As a candidate for state representative from Lehigh Acres, Buckingham, Alva, and North Fort Myers, working for clean water is a priority for my campaign. During the past year, the Caloosahatchee River, which flows through my district and in our region, has been under constant assault by polluted releases from Lake Okeechobee. The contaminated water and nutrients entering the estuaries have decimated marine life and vegetation. It has also triggered algae blooms too toxic even for human hands. Now, about 50% of the pollution in our waterways come from farm, runoff, and lake discharges. The other half comes from Lee County residents. We also have to do better at controlling fertilizers and sewage runoff. To paraphrase an old saying, they ain't making any new water. Our environment and economy depends on clean water. We have a responsibility as leaders and representatives of businesses, big and small, and especially as residents of Southwest Florida, to demand more from public officials to quickly make changes to policies to protect the quality of water and the future of our marine economic wellness. We know there is no simple formula for the river recovery, so we need to utilize all available resources. Some who have spoken here today have put in place priorities that simply do not work. Much more must be done. We know this. But ultimately, additional lands will need to be reserved so that we can store and treat Lake O's waters. I think we've heard that already today. More water must flow through the Everglades to Florida Bay, And that means that we must focus on proposals to build a flowway south. The best path for the environment, called Plan 6, would make Lake O's waters flow through approximately 1/5 of the Everglades agricultural area. I strongly support using public funds to buy the necessary lands as soon as possible, and will work to make sure that this plan comes to fruition when I'm elected. Restoring the natural southward flow of the Everglades ecosystem is critical to restore the Everglades and save the Caloosahatchee River, the St. Lucie River, and also the Indian River Lagoon. The people of Southwest Florida, I mean it's all of us, right? Understand that protecting Florida's beautiful natural resources is critical to our region's future and environmental well-being. That requires standing up to polluters and the other special interests who campaign contributions and lobbying deter so many incumbent politicians from taking the necessary actions. That is why I signed the Floridians Clean Water Declaration. Don't know if some of you had an opportunity to see it on Facebook. When I signed it, I closed my eyes as I signed that form. I thought it was the right thing to do. I don't need to have a political position on that. It was just the right thing to do. And that's why I signed it well over 2 months ago.
Thank you.
As a candidate for state representative, I will be in a position to advance the priorities that we've spoken about today. And I hope that as we get closer to 2014, you remember Larry Aguilar, who is a candidate for state representative for District 79, a district that consists of Lehigh Acres, Buckingham, Alva, and North Fort Myers, and whose district has a say in all of these issues that we've spoken about today. Thank you. Thank you.
She doesn't know if she's allowed because she's meeting. If she wants to.
Y'all have been extremely patient, and it's important to hear from these candidates to really know where they stand. And obviously, those that are here today have made that commitment. to work shoulder to shoulder with all of us to protect our water resources. The next candidate is a gentleman who I've known for quite some time. He's extremely bright and extremely resourceful, has wonderful ideas that would be wonderful for all of us if he's given that opportunity to serve as a public representative, and that's Jim Roche, State House candidate for District 77. Jim?
Thank you all for coming out today. District 77 is Cape Coral, which is 400 miles of canals with water in it that could be a lot cleaner. Just recently, I became the president of the Pine Island Chamber of Commerce. I know what water quality does to our businesses. We can't wait. In fact, my election isn't until August, but I couldn't wait. So in the meantime, in the little red tent over there, I don't want to bore you with a lot of details, but I've been out doing things already. I found out Florida is one of the top milk-producing states in the country. And while milk is good, ice cream, if you've had some here, it's wonderful. The other end of the cow produces something else. In fact, those cows produce tons of manure every year, and in that manure are 79 million pounds of nutrients. And that goes right into our waterway if we don't take care of it. So I couldn't wait until I got elected to do something in Tallahassee. I started 6 months ago researching, visiting dairy farms. I'm one of the few candidates that showed up with cow manure on their shoes to an event. But that's what you have to do if you want to get these solutions. I found out that Florida dairy farmers don't take care of their manure the way they could. We're about 10 years behind other states. And without getting too technical, what they do is they take the manure and they put it on the fields to help grow the crops. They put it on top of the fields, and like we put fertilizer on top of the grass. That's not where it works. Fertilizer works on the roots. There are other states, there are provinces in Canada, there are other countries that can't wait for their water to get clean. So they implement a program where they slice through the ground, not tear up the roots, spray the manure down to the root level, about 6 or 8 inches. The ground closes up, 70% of the nutrients don't run off. This is what we need to do in Florida. So even though I'm just a candidate, I've already contacted our Department of Agriculture, broken down a few barriers and said, no, this is a good thing. Went to some dairy farmers with some experts that do this in other states. And the most critical, amazing thing I learned was, and you'll learn this a lot when you clean things up and you recycle, you save money. I went to dairy farmers in Florida. There's a whole string of them just north of Lake Okeechobee from our side of the state all over, producing millions of pounds of nutrients. When they saw what other states are doing, and they looked at the numbers and they said, well, if we do that, we'll buy less fertilizer and we'll save thousands of dollars a year. So this is the perfect thing that we should be doing, is getting out there, finding things that are doable now. It won't fix all of our water quality problems, but it'll take 70 million pounds of nutrients out of our water. And this is what I've been doing and what I will continue to do, along with supporting Plan 6, along with supporting you. If I get elected, which I should after this speech, it's great. If you know anybody in Cape Coral, I want you to be able to tell them, if they say, what about that Jim Roche candidate? Tell him he really knows his manure. Because that's what it takes. You have to understand water quality before you can legislate it. And I've been out there standing in it. So if you want to find out more about how it actually works, we have a little slideshow set up in the tent. My name is Jim Roche. I'm running for House Seat 77 in Cape Coral. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. If Charles Messina, if you would just lift your hand and wave right behind there. Charles is running for District 76, and he's going through a tough challenge right now, trying to collect signatures to get on the ballot, but that is a democratic way to get on, to make sure that you truly support grassroots and the public at large, and not people holding special interest, to actually collect signatures to get on the ballot. Charles Messina over there. From Pine Island all the way down to Estero, Bonita Springs. Also would like to make an announcement. Santiago was telling me, who oversees Fresh Market, they have found a smartphone. If anybody has lost a smartphone, please again, well, just let me know, okay? I'll put you in touch with Santiago. We have one more speaker, and I thank you for waiting because this man has really literally sacrificed his own personal life professionally. Also, to be able to put in the time and the effort. He's an incredibly talented artist. He really understands the importance of getting that next generation to support the cultural ethic that we're trying to promote here and being good stewards of our environment. And he has a wonderful program he'd like to talk to you about called River Kids, and that's John Heim. John?
Okay, before I start my speech, I'd like to have every single kid out in the presentation here. Come on up to the stage right now. Every kid. I see kids over here. Come on. Bring a sign. Stand right in front, okay? This is the next generation and the brand new West Coast chapter of the River Kids as they come up. Let's let them all get on stage and give them a round of applause, okay? We got them all coming up, so let's just give them 1 minute. I see some children over there.
We love you, kids. Thank you.
Go ahead and fill the stage, kids. You got plenty of room over here.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so the idea here that we're looking at right now is to get our next generation involved in ecological arts. And what you see here is the brand new West Coast chapter of the River Kids. Let's give them a rousing round of applause for doing a great job and being here today. All right, thanks guys. I appreciate more time for the kids. All right, guys, I'm going to need the page now. You guys can hop it on off. I promised them they'd be on the news, so make sure your news people get a good picture of them. Again, let's give them a round of applause. They're great. Okay, we've had some pretty important speakers up here. We've had some pretty important topics discussed. This is kind of where the show starts to kind of even out. I know Larry Aguilar had said they saved the best for last, but he was wrong. Here I am, the best for last. So, Larry, if you're out there, I'd like to check you on that one. Thank you very much. Personally, I have been on this mission for quite some time when it comes to the Lake O discharges. I personally went to the state capitol, spoke there at the Senate Sub-Select Committee with Trey Radel, who is no longer one of our representatives we're all aware of, and Senator Joe Negron. We're looking to get somebody in there when it comes to Radel's seat that actually cares about clean water, because let me tell you, when I was there at Tallahassee and spoke to Tallahassee, he wasn't necessarily the guy that was looking in our right direction. I was also at the nation's capital, and we spoke in front of Congress, over 400 activists, along with ecological orgs. We spoke for our community. I was the only West Coast person on the bus that left from Stewart, Florida. However, we did have West Coast people there when it comes to ecological orgs. And we want you to know that we're going up there continuously, and we're not going to stop to fight for our communities, because we believe in it, okay? So know that we're going to go ahead and continue to make these trips. As Jennifer Hecker from Southwest Florida Conservancy had mentioned, we're going to have the rally and tally coming up real soon, and we really, really appreciate if you guys get yourselves involved. Now, if I may segue to the River Kids program. What the River Kids program represents is a unique idea. We look at it like we may be dead and gone, us old-timers, by the time these solutions come around. So why not get our youth involved right now when it comes to a eco-awareness arts platform? And that's what we're creating. So far, 4 cities have picked up summer camp programs. We got Cape Coral, who's looking to buy into it. We got Bonita Springs, who's buying into it. We got the city of Fort Myers, who bought into it. And we got the city of Fort Myers Beach, who are buying into it. Again, it's a summer camp based on nothing but ecological matters and art. So they're basically expressing themselves about art, which, I'd like to point this out, we even make coloring books. Okay, this is a Rivers Kids actual coloring book. And what it actually has in it is an actual description from children with their artwork and about their rivers and how we can do our part to save it. There's even an extensive abbreviation of Plan 6 in this coloring book, which to kind of lighten the mood. We're missing one speaker here today, I would say. That is Elizabeth Benaquisto. We did ask Elizabeth Benaquisto to sign a declaration of clean water. She refused. She also was not very familiar or apt to talk about Plan 6. I told her anytime she wants, we could bring a river kid into her office and explain to her about Plan 6. The point being is, when 10-year-olds are more educated about the solutions to our water problems than our elected officials, that's saying volumes. So what we're doing is we're educating our children. We're not forcing it down our throat. Our kids want clean water. Our kids want a thriving community. We are 100% based on tourism. Our children recognize that. If our water is completely filthy, they can't go in it. They can't enjoy it. So what we're doing is basically getting them involved. Over here on this table, I have tons of information when it comes to the River Kids. We hope that you guys intertwine with the River Kids program. It's near and far. As a matter of fact, we've joined forces with the East Coast River Kids over there. So at this point, we're looking at about 50,000 River Kids so far about signed up between the two coasts. And once again, I'd like to go ahead and just give a round of applause to those children who walked up on the stage. Let's give them a round of applause one more time. I just wanted to conclude by saying thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to Mr. Ray Judah for working with us. It's been a real fun ride, a real educational trip for us all. There's nothing that you've ever seen before is when you have politicians, ex-county commissioners, ecological orgs working directly with activists. Now that's something special right there. We have some really, really educated people like Ray, Judah, Jen Hecker, and such like that, who actually work right with us as activists. When it comes to the state right now, between the East Coast, Stewart, Florida is being directly affected by the discharges just as well as we are here in Lee County. When it comes to the activists that are involved, we are up over 500,000 people strong. And for us as activists to be led through the muck, so to speak, with great people to educate us, such as Ray Judah and Jen Hecker, we have to go ahead and applaud them. So let's go ahead and give those two a round of applause as well. I'd like to conclude this rally by bringing up John Scott, also known as Green Guy, just to kind of put on some closing remarks here. Thank you very much, folks, for attending.
Yeah, John.
What's up? Give him a round of applause, John Hine. I think we're done with the speakers now, so I hope everybody's had a really good time. Now that we're finished, we're probably going to take a... I guess we have one more speaker, last but not least, but I'll go ahead and introduce him at the end of this. But at the end of this, we're probably going to take a short break, and then we're going to be proceeding to march. And we've got some extra signs over here. If anybody wants to grab one that wants to march with us, feel free. We're going to march out that way to McGregor, down to the corner where we can safely cross the street, go across there over to that green space park by the Midpoint Bridge. And then we'll hold our signs up, and hopefully any of the news station and the media that are still here will follow us over there and get a little coverage of that as well, so they can see our messages as we raise them in March, demanding clean water. I appreciate everyone turning out. It's been a pleasure seeing everybody here and listening to this great panel of speakers. Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.
You know, when it got close to 10:30, I was really concerned about the fact that on the East Coast, they have literally thousands of people, 6,000 to 10,000 people that get together for these rallies to try to impress upon our legislative leaders to protect our water resources. And here we get maybe a few hundred, but you know, each one of you is extremely important, and we value your commitment and your interest. And I got to tell you, I talked to Santiago, who I introduced earlier,
yeah, I've been eyeing
with the GreenMarket here right at the Lee County Alliance Yard. And he can really put things in perspective as to the importance of even just a small group starting out on what should be eventually a big movement in the state of Florida to finally get accountability to protect and manage our water resources. And Santiago, I'd like to ask you to step forward, please. And as you do, I also want to shout out to John Scott's wife, Ruth. They are a team together that helped, along with John Hine, recording this event. Ruth, where are you? There she is. Okay. But I'd like to introduce Santiago, please.
Hey guys, hey, thank you for being here.
I'll keep it very short. I know everybody wants to go have a beer or whatever. I'm a small farmer out of Pine Island. I run this joint on the weekends. And Ray was disappointed that, he said there should be thousands of people here. And I told him, well, I grew up in Argentina back in the 70s, and it was hard time, and, military rule. And only a group of about 50 women, the mothers of the disappeared, originally started putting on white handkerchiefs and congregating and going around the plaza. Eventually, more and more people joined, and from that core of 50, 100 women, the whole regime came down. So we gotta start somewhere, and thank you all for being here.
It's got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Who you going home? It's got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
Even though we're not in the beach, we're going to do this one. Whose beach?
Our beach.
Whose beach?
Our beach.
Whose beach?
Our beach.
Watch for the ants. Ants, watch for the ants.
Whose water?
Our water.
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 What's the fix?
Plan 6.
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 What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Dirty water's
Got to go.
Hey, hey! Dirty water's got to go! Hey, ho, ho! Dirty water's got to go! Hey, ho, ho! Dirty water's got to go! Hey,
Come right.
dirty water's got to go! Hey, ho, ho! Dirty water's got to go!
Hey. Oh, oh. Dirty water has got to go. Clean water. Now.
We were really down.
There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, 'cause the power of the people don't stop.
There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, 'cause the power of the people don't stop.
Clean our water.
Adopt Plan 6. Clean our water.
Adopt Plan 6. Clean our water. Adopt Plan 6. Clean our water.
Adopt Plan 6.
Clean our water.
Adopt Plan 6.
Clean our water. Plan 6. Clean our water. Adopt Plan 6.
Clean our water.
Plan 6.
Clean our water.
Adopt Plan 6.
Clean our water.
Adopt Plan 6. Adopt Plan 6. Clean our water. 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 Adopt Plan 6. What do we want? Clean water. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Clean water. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Clean water. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Clean water. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Clean water. When do we want it? Now. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Dirty water's got to go. Dirty water's got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Dirty water's got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Dirty water's got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Dirty water's got to go. Dirty water's got to go. Dirty water's got to go. Whose choice? Our voice. Whose choice? Our choice. Whose choice? Our choice. Whose choice? Our choice. Whose voice? Our voice. Whose voice? Our voice. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Dirty water's got to go. Dirty water's got to go. Dirty water's got to go. Let's try this one. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Stop Lake Flow. 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 Whose water? Our water. Whose water? Our water. Whose water? Our water. What do we want? Clean water. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Clean water. When do we want it? Now. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yeah. Let those people in traffic know what you're out here for. Wave those signs to them. We want clean water right now. Clean water. There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, like the power of the people don't stop. Let's march.
Oh my God, that brought back that
I don't think so. John.
I jolted up a little bit.
I don't think so.
Now! Clean water! Now! Clean water! Now! Clean water! Now! Clean water! Now! Let him see you! You know the syllable! What do we want? Clean water! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Clean water! All right, let's march on back, gang! There ain't no power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Power of the people, power of the people don't stop. There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. What do we want?
got to go. Dirty water's got to go. Dirty water's got to go. Dirty water's got to go.
Whose water?
Our water.
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 Clap your fist, people.
Softly,
Huh?
Whose water? We don't like how close they are to the street.
That's true. They shouldn't be.
Get out of the street! Get out of the street, guys!
What do we want?
Clean water.
Everybody look at me!
Clean water right now. Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
They go
Dirty water's got to go.
Dirty water's got to go.
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
I can't hear you. Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go!
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Oh, yeah! Round of applause for yourself, people! Now, I know this one's a tough one, but we'll do it again. There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the
Power of the people don't stop. There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
there ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
There ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what? Ain't no
Power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Clean water!
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Dirty water's got to go.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Clean water.
When do we want it?
Now.
Thank you for hosting us, GreenMarket!
Dirty water's got to go.
I should get a quick massage for that neck.
Uh-huh.
Come on, Red.
Dirty water's got to go. Clean water. Now. Clean water. Now. Clean water. Now. Clean water. Now. Clean water. Now.
If I get up like a 10-minute massage,
Not at all.
I can get that trick out of my neck.
Not at all. That'd be great. He said they wanted a
Okay.
picture.
He said he would wait. I'll go back after the picture while you.
Everybody gather around the banyan tree who cares to be in the group photo. Thank you. You don't have to march to be in the group photo.
So you better make it legal now.
You want to look up and smile?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. try that. Hold on, let me flash it because it looks like it's... Alright, there we go.
Got it?
Yeah, it
Didn't come out?
The flash didn't come out for some reason. Okay, one more time.
I can't.
I don't want to flash.
Oh,
I'm sure it came out.
It might take us a little while, so go ahead and
There we go. Yeah. You'll get it on that one if you do a video snap.
I did a couple.
Did you?
My camera in your...
No, here. Go ahead. We'll switch. Yeah.
So
All right.